Verstappen won at Zandvoort and celebrated in his home country in front of his Dutch fans. But women in the audience were again harassed in the stands. What happened? Verstappen continued his dominance in this year's championship. Members of the female sex again experienced discomfort in the stands. Welcome to Formula Zoom, where you get the news, the latest updates and everything about Formula 1. Last weekend, Max Verstappen achieved another victory in Formula 1 Championship. This time he celebrated at a race held on his turf at Zandvoort. A huge number of fans, dressed in traditional orange colors, had the opportunity to witness another brilliant triumph of their favorite driver. A real miracle needs to happen so that Verstappen does not win the title. Max recorded his third consecutive victory in the Netherlands. As many as 105,000 fans were present in the stands at Zandvoort. Verstappen achieved his 10th victory of the season, and a total of 30 in his career. The remaining two places on the podium were occupied by the driver of Mercedes, George Russell, and the current runner-up in the World Championship, Charles Leclerc. The Dutch driver celebrated in front of his orange army after a great drive, but also thanks to the right decisions of his team at the right time. In this way, but also because of the incidents in Red Bull, they foiled the plans of Mercedes to perhaps surprise him with a different tactic. Verstappen led safely until the first pit stop, when the lead was taken over by Lewis Hamilton in Mercedes, who planned to only tire change once. The Dutchman returned to the lead when the 7-time world champion pitted on lap 30 of 72, and it looked set for their duel at the finish. However, two incidents, which led to the virtual safety car being brought up and then to the track, spiced up their fight in the front and helped the reigning champion celebrate dominantly. In the end, Hamilton had to settle for 4th place, 2 seconds behind Leclerc and 5 behind Sergio Perez in the Red Bull car. The Mercedes driver and the Mexican had a duel in the middle of the race in which Perez defended himself rather aggressively, and at one point Sebastian Vettel intervened, who was a lap behind them, but the Briton came out victorious. By the way, Perez crossed the finish line in 6th place, but he profited from the fact that Carlos Sainz Jr. penalized for 5 seconds for stupidity Ferrari. The first thing that cost the Spaniard was that he was unprepared for the pits in his first tire change, and then he was unsafely led right into the path of Fernando Alonso, for which he received a penalty. The 2-time world champion took 6th place ahead of Lando Norris in the McLaren and Sainz, while the remaining point went to Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll. Verstappen won the point for fastest lap. Verstappen leads the overall standings now with 310 points, 109 more than Leclerc and Perez, while Russell is 3rd with 188. Verstappen was very satisfied after another victory, because he's aware he still needs very little to win another title in the World Championship. It is not even a race, we had to push hard all the time. However, we made the right decisions when the virtual safety vehicle came along. I had a great rhythm after the restart. It was a bit of a question how everything would look with the soft tires, but it turned out great. We had a great pace again, said Verstappen. Of course, winning a race in your own country is a special feeling. It is always special to win a domestic Grand Prix. This year I had to work even harder. It was a great weekend for me, and I'm really happy for the win. While Verstappen looked forward to another victory, some unpleasant scenes, similar to those that took place in Austria some time ago, took place in the stands in Zandvoort. At that time, an inviolable number of women announced that they had experienced insults in the stands and misogynistic behavior from the male fans. Year after year, more and more women of the fairer sex watch races within the Formula 1 World Championship. Unfortunately, a few weeks ago, the ladies experienced insults in the stands at the Red Bull Ring. Then, Formula 1 spoke up and condemned that kind of behavior. We are aware of reports that our fans suffered inappropriate and offensive comments from other fans during the race weekend in Austria. We take things like that very seriously and have discussed this with promoters and security. We would also like to talk to those who reported the incidents. Such behavior is inadmissible and unacceptable, they said from Formula 1. The mentioned things were repeated in the Netherlands, where more than 50 women reported that they experienced members of the opposite sex saying ugly words to them, taking pictures or touching their body parts. As mentioned, there are more and more ladies who like to follow Formula 1, and they have a fan club founded by Svenja Tillemans. It was she who announced on Twitter that many women contacted her because they experienced unpleasant scenes similar to those that happened in Austria in July. Although the spectators could see a fantastic race and a great atmosphere in the stands, the small screens were unfortunately too small for a certain number of visitors. Especially women experienced a series of inconveniences that made them wonder if they could come to the race in Zandvoort again. The ladies reacted in a similar way after the race in Austria. Such things spoiled another spectacle in which the favorite driver of the home crowd finally celebrated and came even closer to his second consecutive World Championship title. The track in the Netherlands is located in a specific place. Zandvoort is one of the largest resorts in the Netherlands with fantastic beaches. Due to the fact that the beach is located not far from the track and that the fact that clearly intoxicated Formula 1 fans mixed with women dressed for the beach in public transport and trains, it came to a point that they also experienced unpleasant situations in the transport. Although many women contacted the police to report their inconveniences that happened to them, in the end only one young man was arrested for inappropriate actions. The lady who found themselves in the stands and were assaulted by male fans taking pictures of them in inappropriate poses or touching their private parts could not escape from the large crowd in the stands so easily. Mainly the trains were late that day, so they simply experienced inconveniences at the train station while waiting for late trains to arrive. The accident caused by the bus that hit the railway viaduct contributed to these delays, as well as the fact that some trains did not start at all. This is a big defeat for Formula 1, as it is the second time after the race in Austria that the mentioned scenes have happened. More and more women want to enjoy watching the races in the stands, but the question is how many of them will dare to come back to the stands again in the future if the aforementioned inconveniences continue. Even the multiple world champion Lewis Hamilton was disgusted by the behavior of the fans at the race in Austria. Disgusted and disappointed to hear that some fans are facing racist, homophobic and generally abusive behavior at the circuit this weekend. Attending the Austrian Grand Prix or any GP should never be the source of anxiety and pain for fans. And something must be done to ensure that races are safe spaces for all. On that occasion, Formula 1 did speak out about the mentioned behavior of the fans. But only a month and a half after Austria, the unpleasant scenes were repeated again. Formula 1 will now have to deal with this problem more in the future as it becomes more and more common. For now, fans are fighting the mentioned problems internally by forming different groups on social networks. Illegal behaviors observed at races can be reported there. However, the management of Formula 1 itself should deal with this problem, because Formula 1 races, like all other sports, must not be a place where inappropriate behavior and various forms of discrimination will be propagated. We hope that such scene in Austria and the Netherlands will not be repeated in the next races. We trust that the fans in Monza, where the next race takes place next weekend, will behave appropriately. Last year, Daniel Ricciardo celebrated on this track, but this season he recorded disappointing performances. Otherwise, it is speculated that the track in Monza could lose its place at the World Championship, if certain corrections are not made. This was announced by Stefano Domenicali, the first man of Formula 1. What we agreed on must be implemented. The track must be much more comfortable for both drivers and spectators. I understand that there is an economical and political crisis, but for the sake of security, we must not make compromises, said Domenicali. The track in Monza celebrates its 100 years of existence during the weekend. It will celebrate many more birthdays in Formula 1 if a proper system is created. We're told that track work will begin in the coming months. We don't want any excuses or known surprises, says Domenicali. What do you think about the situation in Zandvoort? Write us in the comments. Like and share this video, and if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to our Formula 1 Apex channel. Thanks for watching.